Hello and welcome to my next Let's Play of Eldfall Chronicles by FreeCompany. Once again, I'm playing the Heart of Obsidian campaign, and this is the second play with the Empire of Soga faction. As you can see here, I once again put up the tunnels beneath Kara village, where this time, as I said, the Empire of Soga faction, represented by two bushy attendants, which are these two, the Musha Blade Master, which is still wounded from the previous game, and the Kitsune Spell Maiden, will try to pass through the tunnels next to these two golems, two patrolling gargoyles, and once again the still unpainted model of the Colossus to reach the artifact they were hired as the kickoff of this campaign. So with this, to achieve this, the Kitsune Spellmaiden has to get into base-to-base contact with the obelisk here, which will represent the artifact's position, and has to use an interact action. Last time I played this, the Sand Kingdoms were able to cheese this with their spells, basically avoiding the Colossus in total. So I'm really curious how it will play out with the martial faction of the Empire of Soga. And last time I played it, I allowed the golems and the gargoyles to make an agility check to represent their awareness, so that they could, even dodge when they normally would not allow to do so, because this scenario uses the darkness rule. So therefore, all the models only have a side of half their agility. I think it was. Let me just double check it. Give me a second. Darkness. Models have line of sight only within their awareness. Okay, it was the total awareness. And an activated or reacting model suffers -3 modifier when targeting another model outside of half awareness. So this was it. And with this, the bushy attendants have a range or line of sight range of 10 inches, and the Musha Blade Master of 11. The Kitsune Spell Maiden has the acute sense trait, which increases her awareness by 3 inches, so she has a total of 17 inches. The golems sadly have still only 6 inches. The gargoyle is at 8 inches, and the imposing colossus is at 6 inches awareness. So still, the Empire of Soga has an advantage about line of sight, and I think I will still allow the models to make an agility saving throw to dodge any possible attacks, because otherwise, because of their hostile cards and their reactive role, they wouldn't react at all, and the Empire of Soga would be able to just destroy one hostile at a time and just go through and deal with the Colossus by itself. And I think that would be similar to the last scenario, quite boring. So I will integrate this home rule. And with this all set, I will catch you up in the first turn. In the first turn, the Empire of Soga party activated. In its strategic phase, both Bushy Attendant decided to get into the warrior defense stance because of their warrior class. And then they used the run activation with their first activation point. The Bushy Blade Master also used the run activation, and the Kitsune Spell made only a move activation. All this resulted in the Bushy attendants staying outside of the side of the golem. Excuse me. And now with their second activation, this Bushy attendant will activate. He tries to shoot at this golem. The golem will make a check to see if he is able to react because of my house rule. And with a roll of 5, he is beneath or lower than his agility equal to his awareness of 6. Just let me get the focus here. Yeah, it's a bit difficult here, we have it. So, and with the roll of 5, he's able to activate. And looking at the golem's reaction, target of line of sight, attack, line of sight, and without 0 inches, he has now line of sight. But at the top, target of ranged spell attack, I will just say it's a ranged attack. Dodge, move towards the attacker. So the golem will try to avoid the attack with his agility of 6. He rolls a 9. Therefore, now the bushy attendant still has to hit the golem. He has an accuracy of 12 minus the -3 modifier because of the darkness special rule. He needs a 9 or less. With a roll of 3, he actually managed to hit the golem. Nevertheless, the golem, looking at its speed stat of 3, is allowed to move 1.5 inch. Therefore, a little bit closer, just removing its activation point for its reaction. So, with this, the bow of the bushy attendant has a power of 13. The golem has an armor of 8. Therefore, the bushy attendant needs an 5 or less to wound. And with a roll of 16, the arrow splatters harmlessly off the golem's body. Now, in a similar procedure, this bushy attendant will shoot at the golem. The golem also will, this time he's allowed to react because he has a line of sight. Therefore, the golem tries to dodge. With a 17, he fails. The bushy attendant needs a 9 or less to hit. With a roll of 13, he also fails. So, both of these activations were for more or less for nothing. But now, the Musha Blade Master can stay idle to activate because of his upgrade, Kyutsu upgrade, I think it was called, which grants him the marksman class. So when he stays idle, he gets a +4 to his accuracy, -3 for the distance, gets him a net total of +1. Therefore, the Musha Blade Master needs a total of 13 or less to hit the golem with his bow. And with a roll of 7, he absolutely hits. Just putting the other die to the side. The bow of the Musha Blade Master has a strength of 16 minus the armor of 8, so he needs an 8 or less to wound the golem. And with a roll of 3, he managed to put a wound onto the golem. So, and with the Musha Blade Master out of activations, the Kitsune Spellmain will use her activation to cast her Burning Resolve spell at the Musha Blade Master to basically transfer her activation point to the Musha Blade Master. She needs a 15 or less, and with a roll of 17 she fails. She has the Mystic ability class, which allows her to use her Moral instead of her Intelligence value to cast a spell. So instead of a 14, she would need a 15. But she has, as opposed to the Sand Kingdoms, she has no class which allows her to reroll, and therefore this is the first activation of the Empire of Soga. I will prepare the first hostile turn and I will get back to you. For the hostiles turn, as you can see here, this gargoyle moved up to its new position, and the gargoyle previously standing here moved up to its previous position. This golem and the Colossus in general will not activate. I will see if I will activate the golem according to my own host rule. So rolling a 6 or less for its first activation, it's a 19, therefore it will not activate in its first activation. The second activation attempt, it's a 15. Let me just get a little bit better at the focus on it. Here we go. So therefore both of the golem's activations are not in this turn, but this golem has line of sight to the first 3 party members. Therefore it is allowed to activate, and it will do so according to its hostile card. It will prioritize the closest enemy. This will be this bushy attendant. And with This bushy attendant is now, because of the dodge of the golem previously, within 6 inches. Therefore, it will use a run action to attack this bushy attendant. And the both bushies and the Musha Blade Master will activate. I will just grab their activation points. And all 3 of them will use an attack action. Excuse me. Still struggling with my hay fever. And since this is the reactive turn, or reactive phase, and the bushy attendants choose to get into a defense stance, they keep their full strike value, and with their short bows they have a strike of 2. Therefore the bushy attendant, which will get into the engage rate of the golem, will start. Each of them will wait until the golem is within 5 inches, so roughly above here. This is to avoid the -3 modifier for their attack. So this bushy attendant starts. He needs now 12 or less. And with a 5 and a 3 both hit. And if he managed to roll this well once more, he on its own, will destroy the golem, so needing 5 or less. And let me see, it's a 5. And it's another 3. So with this rolls, let me just try to get a better lighting. I think here we can go 3 and a 5. The bushy attendant actually managed to put 2 more wounds onto the golem, who has only 3 hit points. Because of his construct rule, the golem will actually be destroyed and removed from the field. And with this, I will just save up the other 2 reactions. And since, because of the mission special rule, the colossus will only activate as soon as one model or party member gets into its area, I think the hostile's turn is done. I will prepare the party's next activation and I'll catch you up. Coming back to the party's next activation, as you can see here, both bushy attendants once again took on their defense stance and used a run action to position themselves outside of 9 inches to the gargoyle. This is because the gargoyle, as we can see here, has an agility of 8 and therefore an awareness of 8. And since the bushy attendants have an awareness of 10, it is just enough to attack the gargoyle. And similar, the Musha Blade Master used also his first activation to run between both bushy attendants because he has an awareness range of 11. The Kitsune Spellmaiden, as the model with the lowest HP of 1, and which will be therefore the potential target for the gargoyle, stayed as far away as possible, but still within 8 inches of the Musha Blade Master, so that should, within the following 3 activations of her teammates, the gargoyle would be still alive, she will be able to cast Burning Resolve at the Musha Blade Master without the -3 modifier. So with this, I will start with this Musha Blade Master who just destroyed the golem previously. He will attack the gargoyle. The gargoyle will see if it is able to react. It needs an 8 or lower. And with a roll of 9, it is unable to activate. Therefore, no, the bushy attendant needs a 9 or less to hit because it is above half his awareness. So therefore, -3 modifier. And he rolled a 6. He hit the gargoyle. The gargoyle has an armor value of 5. Therefore, the bushy attendant needs an 8 or less. And with a roll of 12, he failed to do so. But with this, I will just remove his activation token and continue on with the second bushy attendant. Once again, checking if the gargoyle is able to react. With a 10, it is unable to react. So now I will just grab the activation token. Needing a 9 or less to hit. It's a 17. and continue on to the Musha Blade Master. So he will activate, hitting once again the gargoyle, seeing if it can activate with a 9 or less. With a 5 it is able to activate after 2 arrows flew next to it, so it will dodge, and it needs an 8 or less to dodge. It rolled a 9, therefore it failed. Since he declares an idle activation, an idle move, he received a +4, -3, so in total a net of +1 to his accuracy, and he needs a 13 or less to hit. And it's a natural 20, so he fails. Will this time the Kitsune Spellmaiden be able to transfer her activation point to the Musha Blade Master? Burning Resolve, 15 or less. And it's a 5. She managed to do so, and the Musha Blade Master instantly will activate. And once again shoot at the gargoyle. The gargoyle will see if it is after it. It will see if it can react after it resolved the 2.5-inch movement of its previously, and with this it actually is within 6 inches, so therefore it does not have to roll to see if it is able to react, and it will react regardless. So dodging the gargoyle dodges. With a 15 it fails. The Musha Blade Master, since it is, I am not sure, let me just check the range again. Yeah, it seems to me that this will be 6 inches, so it is above 5.5 inches. Therefore, still the -3 penalty for the Musha Blade Master, so he needs a 13 or less to hit. With a 13, he barely managed to hit. He has a power of 16, the gargoyle has an armor of 5, therefore 11 or less to destroy the gargoyle. And with a roll of 4, he managed to destroy the gargoyle. So, with this, the party's activation is done. I will prepare the 3 remaining hostiles, and I'll see you in the hostiles next turn. Okay, what happened in the hostile turn? Basically, the gargoyle moved its 2 move activations to get into a new position. I rolled for the golem if it was able to activate, and as you can see, not very good, but here it comes, an 18 and a 19. Both are far above the golem's awareness, so therefore it was not allowed to activate. And since nobody was still in the chamber of the Colossus, it also stayed idle. Therefore, I already prepared the party's activation. And similar to previously, both of the Bushi tenants decided to stay in their defense stance. And what they will actually do is this time, this Bushi attendant will move a little bit closer to have a line of sight through the tunnel at the gargoyle with 6 inches and 9 to 10 inches. He's within reach. Therefore, the gargoyle will see if it is able to react. Nevertheless, despite the darkness rule, it isn't. So the Bushi attendant will need a 9 or less to hit the gargoyle. With a 7, he's able to hit the gargoyle. And now this Bushi attendant needs an 8 or less to wound the gargoyle. And it's an 11, which is not enough. So I will just try to repeat this with the other Bushi attendant, but in the hope to destroy the gargoyle. So the gargoyle sees if it is able to react. With a natural 1, it is absolutely able to react, so it will spend its reaction. And before I forget it, as I did previously, I will just already move the gargoyle up its 2.5 inches towards the active model, which is this Bushi attendant. And now the gargoyle, see if it is able to avoid the error with an 8 or less. It's an 11, so therefore unable to avoid the error. Now the Bushi attendant needs another 9 to hit. It's a 12. But this allows the Musha Blade Master to stay idle, getting a total of +1. So therefore, I think he is still out of 8 inches, or is he? No, he's within, I would say. Yeah, he is. Excuse me. Therefore, the gargoyle will use the dodge action, and with a 9, checking, it has an agility of 8. Therefore, it fails. Barely, but it does. So, removing its activation point and just moving it 2.5 inches closer to the party. And now, the Musha Blade Master is staying idle. And I believe this time... No. It is still more into... It is still outside of the... It is more closely to 6 inches. So therefore, still with the -3 modifier, but +4 because of the marksman. Therefore, +1 in total, 13 or less to hit. It's a 19. And he misses with his first activation. So, with this done, I will just start with this Bushy Attendant next. The gargoyle is out of reactions, therefore another arrow, and 18 misses. So, the Bushy Attendant who destroyed the other constructs, he rolled a 16 and fails. And now the Musha Blade Master once again, trying to attack the gargoyle, still outside of 5.5 inches, therefore only +1 in total, 13 or less. It's a 7. He has a power of 16, armor of 5 of the gargoyle. He needs an 11 or less to destroy the gargoyle. And it's a 3. Therefore, the gargoyle is destroyed. So, now the Kitsune Spellmaiden is left. She will activate, and the first thing she does is she moves 4 and 2 inches closer to the party, since the gargoyle, as the most dangerous hostile currently, is out of action, and she will spend her activation to cast Burning Resolve at the Musha Blade Master. With a roll of 7, she managed to successfully provide him with another activation point. And let me just check if the Musha Blade Master actually... Yeah, this 1 additional inch is enough to see the golem. And with this, he will spend his new activation point to shoot at the golem. The golem trying to react 6 or less. With the 12, he's unable to do so. So the Musha Blade Master, once again, 11 or less to hit. It's an 11. The golem has an armor of 8, power of 16, therefore 8 or less to wound. It's an 18, 10 points too much. So therefore no wound at the golem. And once again, the Kitsune Spellmaiden tries to transfer her activation point to the Musha Blade Master with Burning Resolve. And it's a 2. So, the Musha Blade Master instantly will spend the activation point to shoot at the golem. And with a 12, he is unable to hit. Wait a second. A 13 or less, so he is able to hit. Sorry. Put the modifier in the wrong direction. And therefore he now needs an 8 or less to wound again. And with a roll of 4, he actually managed to put a wound at the golem. But before I will finish the turn, let me see if the golem retroactively is able to react. But with a roll of 18, he isn't. So, this was quite a successful turn for the party. And I will keep it short. When the golem activates, I will try if he's able to activate without any of these models within his awareness range. So let me roll 2 dice to see if there are any 6 or less. A 5 and a 9. So the golem will activate, and normally, since he has no line of sight, he would only rotate. But I will say that he will run towards the closest enemy. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so up to here. And since this was the first die who finished his rolling, I would say that was the first activation, and this activation triggers the reaction of V3. Excuse me, hay fever again. And yeah, since both Bushi attendants choose their reactive, the defense stand, they keep their rank value in the reactive phase. So this Bushi attendant, 2 attacks, now within half his awareness, so therefore 12 or less. It's a 10 and a 20, so the 10 is good enough. And now he needs a 5 or less to wound the golem, and it's 18. Now the Slayer of Constructs, Bushi attendant, also 12 or less. It's a 16 and a 19, not enough. And the Musha Blade Master at the golem, he rolls a 2, enough, and now he needs an 8 or less to wound. It's an 18. And now, let me just see if the golem is still... No, here it isn't 3 inches, but here it is 3 inches. So the golem will activate. He will move into contact with his Musha Blade Master, Bushi attendant, sorry. And the Bushi attendant actually will use a dodge activation just to get outside of the reach. And the other 2 will react by, once again, shooting at the golem. Starting with the Bushi attendant, shooting, and it's a 2 and another 2. Therefore, both are hitting. If he managed to roll 5 or less with both die, he destroys another golem. It's a 5 and a 4. Therefore, 2 additional wounds, and this golem is once again gone. So this Bushi attendant is putting in the work, destroying 2 golems, if I remember correctly. So, since all this is done, let me just prepare this time properly the party's turn, and I'll catch you up. As you can see, I did not record the turn of the party, because what happened? Basically, the Bushi attendant used a run activation to move up to this position, and the farther away Bushi just got here. The Musha Blade Master used also a run action to move 7 inches up to his new position. The Kitsune Spellman used 2 run actions to move up the passage, connecting the 2 corridor tunnels, and get into a new position as well. And with this, I did some measuring, and I'm pretty sure this will be the last turn of this game, because as you can see here, by putting down the rulers, the Kitsune Spellman is able to move 12 inches in her first activation, and with this she will get outside of the reach of 1 inch, or stays outside of the reach of 1 inch of the Colossus. This will be her first activation, and her second activation she will just take a move action, get into contact, and use the interact action to receive the artifact. And with this, activation 1, activation 2, getting the artifact, once again, speed completely negates the Colossus and invalidates it. Is this mission fun, looking back at it, having played it a second time? I still think it is, even when it is not the best scenario. And I'm looking forward to play this scenario with the Hellion League, because the Hellion League is, as far as I remember, the currently slowest faction, and maybe they aren't able to cheese the Colossus by moving around it. So with this, the party was successful in receiving the artifact, winning its second mission, despite the Musha Blade Master being wounded the whole time. This Bushi attendant is the destroyer of constructs, so tipping the head to this fellow. And with this, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.